Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahushai, Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahushai, Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bahashim, Rachakodash. The belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Citations to the hopeful elect out there, Yuakim, to Zadakim, that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. On the pre-Shaman, this week's topic is going to be entitled Trump Threatens to Leave NATO and Threatens EU. Man, this guy Donald Trump is moving extremely fast. So fast, before I could do a lesson, he's already doing something else, and I have to cram my lessons. But I'm going to try to go over as much as I can. I'm going to try to take my time with this lesson to Lord willing I don't forget all the things I wish to speak about. But first, let's speak about this whole Trump threatening NATO. Well, Trump was never a big fan of NATO. You know, you can look at videos 7 years ago when from his first term, when he was at a NATO meeting. He was addressing the fact that NATO doesn't pay their fair share. You know, I've mentioned previous lessons that 74% of NATO is pretty much the United States military, and the United States pays a lot for NATO, wherein you have certain countries that are a part of NATO that are not even paying, and that's what Trump brought out. See, Trump is a pure nationalist, and I'm just going based on his actions. Really, you can only go based on his actions, because a lot of these politicians say shit and don't do anything. Trump is saying things and doing things that support his beliefs, which is he does believe America should be the greatest nation on the planet Earth. And it's about time. It's about time that we have somebody in America that thinks like Xi Jinping, that thinks like Vladimir Putin, because that's going to set true animosity, true vested interest in what each country want. This is the book of Revelations, the 17th chapter and 12th verse. It says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest are the 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength onto the beast." Now this is going into NATO and the EU, which is a topic of discussion right now. This is the book of Revelation chapter 17 verse 14. It says, "These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful." Now this is alluding to what we read about in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, right? When these nations go to war with Yahushua, right? And who's going to be leading that charge? Really, Russia, because when the Lord comes back, we're already going to be in the midst of World War III, and at that point, America's already going to be crippled, and the majority of these nations are going to turn their back on the United States and the state of Israel, who will lead us all into World War III. Okay, mainly starting with the state of Israel. Now I want to say another thing too about Donald Trump. Donald Trump not only is a national, which is America first, but he also is Israel first. He's a pro-Zionist. If you look at the Biden administration, there's division amongst the Democrats, because you have progressive Democrats and you have moderate Democrats, right? A moderate Democrat, Joe Biden. Joe Biden was a moderate Democrat. If you look at him speak in 2008, Obama, they were anti-gay marriage. There's video on them saying they're anti-gay marriage because they're moderate Democrats. They weren't progressive Democrats. Progressive Democrats are the whole LGBTQ, transgenders in school, all that shit. What they also call the far left. Now he's a moderate Democrat, but he had to run himself as a progressive. And the opposite happened for Kamala Harris, which is a progressive Democrat, but to seek the votes of the people, she had to kind of be a chameleon. You know, she was doing a bunch of shit that wasn't true to her, and run as a moderate, and she fucked herself, because unlike Trump, who he is, he just blatantly says, look, I'm supporting Israel. She has to also say she supports Israel and also say free Palestine, which were two conflicting ideas. So she lost the support of a lot of them protesting people. If you went to a Kamala Harris campaign, we didn't have to go, but they were saying that the Kamala Harris, it wasn't just Trump supporters booing her, but you also had college students that were free Palestine booing her because she said that she had to stand on Israel, because we know as a sitting president, you have to be a pro-Zionist, you know, because the so-called Jews have a lot of leverage on a lot of these politicians. Donald Trump is no different, right? I mentioned Wilbur Ross, who's a part of his cabinet. I don't know if he still is, but it was an agent of the Rothschild to bail him out of the Atlantic City situation he was in with the bankruptcy of his real estate. So that's really good. That's good for prophecy, because he's America first and he's Israel. So that's great for prophecy, because we know that these two nations together are going to lead us into World War III. Now, let me speak also about votes, right? Like, why you might hear me talk about, or you might say, well, if it's all rigged, why campaign? Why do they campaign? Why are donors upset that they lost money? And I'm talking about billionaires, right? Wouldn't billionaires have inside scoop if this thing was overall rigged? Well, it's not rigged in a sense like, you know how some people be like, oh, the NFL is rigged? But the NFL, you don't know who's going to win the game. They don't know who's going to win. You can't rig the game in a sense, oh, we just going to know who's going to win. The reason you can't do that is because there's too many points of failure, meaning there's too many people you'd have to pay off, and at some point it'll be diminishing returns, right? So you don't rig a game in that way. You rig a game just like how Michael Francis mentioned how he used to rig games, wherein you might play a player to fumble, or give a player money to drop a ball, or, you know, speak to a ref, because remember, it is union, so you do have the mafia in it, you do have Las Vegas in it. But guess what? You could be trying to bribe one team, and another mafia boss is trying to bribe another team, and the elections work the same way, wherein elections are not a federal thing. Elections are a state thing. Okay, so what about electoral votes only matter? Well, the electorals can't vote against the popular votes. That's why I say it's a state-by-state thing. 33 states mandate that the electoral must vote with the popular vote. Now, can an electoral person vote against a popular vote? They can, but they'll face a lot of blowback, okay? And it is a case-by-case basis. They do a winner-takes-all. Most states do a winner-takes-all sort of situation, meaning if let's say the popular vote is blue, right? Then you just have all the electorals. Some states might be different when you look it up, like Nebraska and Maine, right? So now how does this tie into rigging elections and stuff like that? Well, that's it. Just like the Kerry Lake woman I mentioned, the senator, you might pay somebody not to run that is pro-Trump, for example, and these sorts of things, because just like how it is too many points of failure to rig an entire NFL or NBA game, it's too many points of failure to rig an entire election to where it's like 150 million votes, because then you have huge discrepancy. You know what you'd have? You'd have what happened in 2020 with Joe Biden, who had 81 million votes. So you can't make it too fucking obvious, you know, because then you're going to launch a ton of investigations and you're going to get a lot of blowback. So what they do is both sides do tamper with the elections a bit, because I have a friend that knows somebody personally that voted for Trump 2 times and it went through. You have people that had votes of dead people. So they both rig, they both play, but it is a state-by-state situation. And you have to do electoral votes, because that gives other states, this is why people campaign to other states, like smaller states, because if it's just a popular vote, guess what? They'll just be in New York, LA, and Texas, and all these major cities that have large populations. So to get these other states involved, you give them electoral votes, and each state pretty much, how the electoral vote works, all right? People that are electors, they're not parts of Congress, right? Each state has as much electoral as they have Congress members, so which will be 2 House Senate members, and then 2 Senate members, and then your respective representative House members. And again, the reason this is done is because each state has different populations, and the whole idea is to have these people campaign in all these different states. Now, where does swing states and battleground states come into play? Most states are pretty much predetermined to vote for their party, right? Like a California or a New York, right? Democrat, right? Texas, Republican, right? But you do have certain particular states that every election they will flip-flop. These are called battleground and swing states, all right? And in these states, this is where you find a lot of campaigning happening, because you want to swing these states to your respective party. You want the popular vote to go to your party, and then the electoral has to match that. So it's not so much as rigged, like, oh, just bribe off the electorate. No, there's too many points of contact there. You have to do like a state by state kind of thing. That's how come Trump was up until 2 in the morning, and so was Kamala's side. Both billionaires on both sides, because these votes have to be counted and you can't deviate it too much, right? And another way it could be rigged is, again, influencing state policy. So certain states required voter ID, certain states didn't. It's very important to know that every single swing state or battleground state was won by Donald Trump. So that lets you know that the masses of people really cared about the politics that he ran on, right? Cheaper groceries, inflation, gas, border, these sorts of things. Now, Kamala Harris, she won in every state and district where there is no voter ID required. Like New York, you didn't need an ID to vote. So, see, that right there is how you can manipulate things, because you can mail in ballots. So, but this time around, they were heavy on it. This is why I'm saying, somebody might say the entire thing is rigged, then why the hell is there so much? Why are billionaires pouring into different sides? And why the fuck is Trump campaigning 6 hours a day and shit, trying to win people's vote if it didn't matter? Well, this is why. Because the popular vote and the electoral vote in most states have to match, and if it doesn't, you could get major pushback on that, okay? Now, you might say, was there a situation where somebody had less electoral votes and more popular votes and still lost? Yes, Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton had more popular votes than Donald Trump, but Trump had more electorals, and the reason she had more popular votes is because what I just talked about, the population, right? California has more people. More people voted for Hillary because, you know, they're a blue state. So, but again, it can't be done like that, because then the world would just be run, the United States would just be run. The United States would just be run where states have the largest population. Okay, so it could be rigged in that sense. All right, now let's get back on topic. Salaki, that's something I wanted to talk about too. All right, it says, these shall make war with the Lamb. Oh, I'm sorry, verse 15. No, I was at, okay, verse 16. Revelation 17 and 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. Right, so NATO and the EU are going to hate the whore being America. I think I skipped a verse. I think I did skip the verse. But let me go to Revelation 17 and 16. Okay. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast are dead. Yeah, so I was, man, I was a little bit of tangent. I was talking about the Russia leading the war against Yahushua, because America at that point will be destroyed. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump down a verse, because I just wanted to let people know who NATO and the EU are in the scriptures, the 10 horns and the beast, right? Now it says, verse 16, it says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Okay, so Trump threatens to leave NATO and the EU. Well, Trump said he wants NATO to pay their fair share. He's also going to get the hell out of who? The World Health Organization, because he said, look, that's a Chinese-backed organization, and Biden was willing to give them 135 billion. He's not going to do that. And that's another thing with Biden. Biden is a globalist. Biden can be bribed, right? Even like if you look at the war in Ukraine situation, right? I'm going all over the place. It's all right. If you look at the war in the Ukraine situation, that happened under the Biden administration, because Biden withdrew American and American and NATO troops from Ukraine, and that gave Putin license to go and cross the border into Ukraine. And we've known that they have sent billions to Ukraine. They've sent billions to Ukraine, which guess what? It gets laundered back. It gets laundered back into the pockets of the Biden crime families and other bureaucracy, hidden bureaucracy interests, right? Now, why did he have to pull them out? Because according to NATO's Article 5, right? Article 5 of NATO said if you touch one member, you touch every member. So if Biden left NATO troops in Ukraine prior to the invasion, if Vladimir Putin was to touch one head of one American or one NATO soldier, guess what? That would escalate us into World War III. But he didn't do that. He pulled them out. He allowed Vladimir Putin to go in there, and he's been profiteering off the war. Not just him, Lockheed Martin, and these different other war hawks. Okay, that's how come people say if Trump was there, it would have never happened, because Trump would have never let that happen. You know, because again, it's that whole America first thing with him. Okay. Let's go back to this. It says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. So these shall make war with the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire." Right. And okay, so Trump said NATO should pay their fair share, but J.D. Vance has came out and said, if he addressed this to the EU. He said if the EU bans Twitter or X, normally X, formerly known as Twitter, he will pull the United States out of NATO, and that will cripple NATO, because I said most of the funding from America, most of the funding of NATO and backing of NATO is done by America. And again, this is infighting on a global stage and internally, okay? Because during the elections, okay, X was the #1 news app, meaning people were going to X for their information concerning the elections, because nobody was falling for this articles that were just leaning left or just leaning right. They wanted unadulterated information. See, the people were very upset. The younger generation, they weren't going to celebrities anymore. You know, it got revealed that Kamala Harris paid these celebrities millions. You know, she blew $1 billion budget and ended up $20 million in debt because she was doing things like paying Beyonce $10 million and Oprah $1 million. Now, Oprah has came out on TMZ and said she never took any money, but guess what? It's too late. FEC filing sold that there were 2 payments of $500,000 made to her business. So if she want to play semantics and say, I never got paid, but my business got paid, but look, the money came to you. And the knock on Kamala Harris is she didn't spend that money wisely. She was spending so much money on concerts and getting celebrities that she wasn't really spending money on campaigning. And Trump's son, Barron Trump, gave him some sound advice, which is to go after these podcasters. You see, the Democratic Party, the left side, they lost people like Elon Musk, which told Gavin Newsom which told the governor of California that he never gets off his knees. They lost Joe Rogan because they went too fucking far left. That too far left situation, not everybody's with that have power. Prime example, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Kansas City Chiefs, billionaire-owned teams, that said, look, we're not going to acknowledge Pride Night. So they've gone too far left, and also with the taxes and the crime. And these people are powerful influences. You see in that they have more influence than celebrities. It shows you that because Joe Rogan's interview with Trump got 44 million hits. So the tide has changed, right? Because podcasters are more relatable to people because you see them every day. You could kind of see the type of person they are. I don't give a fuck if you're a big fan of Eminem. You don't know what Eminem does. You're not interacting with him every day. So what we saw with Donald Trump was Donald Trump does not have to pay for celebrities because he is a celebrity, right? He was selling out arenas by the hundreds of thousands. Again, getting the masses of the popular vote in his side, which then has to ties up the electoral vote. So he ran a much better campaign than her. Let me see. Now, what do I say? Trump actions are aligning more towards American interests, and he's not the globalist type like a Joe Biden. Well, J.D. Vance said, if you ban X, he told the EU, if you ban X, we will leave NATO. They're already going to leave who? But leaving NATO, that's something we'd have to see. You know what I mean? It's not impossible, but that is something that we'd have to see because, again, we just read in Revelations, the 17th chapter, at some point there's going to be great animosity between NATO, the EU, and America. And Trump is fueling that. And he also is a pro-Zionist. I can't stress that enough because Bibi Netanyahu came out and said, I had 3 conversations with President Trump and me and him see eye to eye. And it looks like Bibi Netanyahu's not going anywhere because he psyoped his opponent. Forgot this guy's name, but, you know, leaked documents came out with him and an underage woman. So that was Bibi's fucking rival. And again, like I talked about, it's really about character assassination. Assassinating a person is the last thing they want to do. It's much easier to tear down their character and reputation, and that's what they do with each other. And at some point, as I mentioned, these other nations are going to have to turn their backs on America, because America is not going to, especially Trump. Trump is not with putting America last. This is the book of Jeremiah 15:12. It says, your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Now, who bore America? Britain. Okay, so even the closest allies to the United States are gonna turn their back on America. How does Elon Musk play a big part in this? Well, Elon Musk's platform X is huge. Like I said, it was the #1 app to go to for news during the election. It's probably still the next soaring app. And if you follow the markets, you'll see that Tesla stock has been on a rampage. Bitcoin has been a rampage because, you know, Trump said he's going to make America the crypto planet of the, he said America will be the planet of the crypto, something like that. He's pretty much putting a lot of people in his cabinet that are pro-crypto, and Bitcoin has passed 90,000. Tesla's ran huge. Why are these things happening? Well, like one brother said, quid pro quo, right? What did Elon get in return for having such a mass platform and endorsing? Well, Trump plan is to put tariffs on a lot of these nations that are importing goods in America, right? And somebody might say, well, it will cost a lot more money to make stuff in the United States, therefore things will be far more expensive anyways, as opposed to get in China, which has cheap labor. Well, guess what? That's where America First comes in, because stuff that are made in the United States will not have to pay those tariffs, right? Stuff that's made in the United States wouldn't have to pay those tariffs. And also huge corporate tax, income tax, all these different tax breaks that Trump wants to do. So to mitigate the excess cost of doing stuff in America, you're not going to have to worry about tariffs, and you're not going to have to worry about expensive tax. You want to bring the corporate tax down to 15. You want to bring down interest rates so they could borrow. This is the whole America First. It's a long-term approach to making America first. That's his whole thing. Now, how does Elon Musk benefit? I'll give you an example. The tariffs won't apply to everything, but it could apply to something like cars, right? Elon Musk only make EV vehicles. And remember, Trump said he's not going to be a big EV guy. He's going to be a pro-gas guy. Elon said, okay, that's good. That's going to stifle out our competition. Tesla will survive. But going back to the tariffs on China situation, tariffs on Chinese manufacturers. You see, this is what I'm talking about, that this guy has been saying the same thing for a number of years, because there's an interview of him in '88. He said the same shit about Toyota, putting tariffs on Japan because Toyota came and destroyed the competitiveness of American cars. Well, circling back, weaving, like my man Trump said, you gotta weave it all together. Well, weaving everything back, Tesla would benefit, because guess what? NIO, which costs 1/4 the cost of Tesla, right? A NIO's electric vehicles, those should like 10K. If those were to come in America, that would completely destroy Tesla, because it's such an affordable option, just like Toyota did. Trump ain't with it. So once Trump came in and he's with those tariffs and he's with having American products stay in America, guess what? Tesla stock has since skyrocketed. So that's a favor for favor situation, okay? And from a prophetic standpoint, we have the guy that's pro chip, you know, pro implant, pro transhumanism, right next to the president, right? So man, the Most High is moving at rocket speeds. This is what they're calling. Some people are calling the golden age, the next golden age, right? Because of the shit that Donald Trump is doing, right? Well, guess what? This is the book of Isaiah 14:4. It says, thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, it's talking about America, and say, how has the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. So that's pretty prophetic that they're saying this is going to be the next golden era. Two things could happen, right? The Most High could have a Black Swan event, and Trump doesn't get in. But I think there's a fail-safe there. I think he has like contingency plans, because J.D. Vance is just like him, just as sharp. America First, the people that he's putting around are straight MAGA people. And I think if he dies, he's going to say release this information, that information. Secondly, the Most High could bring the state this place to a state of that whole golden city type feel by making everything go up. Kind of like his first term, right? Where, you know, if you remember, if you were following the markets, shit was up with this dude, right? People making a lot of fucking money. And what that will set up is 1 Thessalonians, the 5th chapter, which is a sense of safety and peace, and we're doing good and prosper. And the next thing you know, the Lord does the ultimate repo, which is what I believe is going to happen, me personally speaking as a man. But yeah, you know, let me see this now. So that, like I said, this guy is, one thing I say about him is he actually, the shit that he runs and say he's gonna do, he does it. He does it. And all I'm doing is going based purely on his actions. See, this time is a bit different because the first time he ran and he didn't know much about how politics works in terms of the people he appointed around him. And he had a bunch of rhinos around him, right? Like, I mentioned this because a brother said he might put Mike Pompeo. I said he's not going to put Pompeo because Pompeo was a rhino. He's not going to put Nikki Haley because Nikki Haley was a rhino. Rhinos are like fake Republicans, if you will, because Republicans are supposed to be conservative and all this type of stuff, but really these people are war hawks. So everybody has their eye on the people he's appointing. And the big news, the dude he appointed over the border, Tom Homan, straight MAGA, straight just like vicious. Like, he's going to crack the fuck down on it. He's putting a lot of MAGA people around him, a lot of pro-Zionists around him. He's pretty much doing shit that he's saying. There's rumors speculating that he might put in Kash Patek. I believe that's his name, Kash Patek, which is huge. He's an Elamite. Now, the New York Times releases, but it has not been confirmed. But if he puts him in, that dude will shake up the entire CIA. You know, they saying that he might put him in as the director of the CIA. And that would be huge, man, because this whole thing that Trump is saying is that he's going after the deep state, all right? Whether this is what we're seeing elites go against elites. And if this guy does get a point, because Kash Patel was the guy that exposed Russiagate to Trump. He's worked with Trump before. Russiagate was saying that Russia was involved with tampering the 2016 elections and that Trump had involvement. So right there we could see that you had infighting trying to push out information that Trump tied something up with Russia, but you had other parts of the CIA that was trying to fight against that. So you could see they go against each other. Even internally in the CIA, you have certain people that in the CIA might be supporting the president and certain people in the CIA that might be supporting bureaucrats. And it's, man, it's like, you don't even need fucking fiction television. The truth is more exciting than fiction when you get into it. Like, this shit is really happening. Anyways, Obadiah 1:7 says, all the men of that confederacy have brought thee even to the border. These are people that were confederate with America, had contracts with America. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that have eat thy bread, meaning made in the covenant, have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. And there are a lot of different contracts and different things that have been made with America, all right? Missile treaties and these sorts of things. But these Edomites make and deal with Edomites. They're going to break treaties. That's the nature of the so-called white man, you know? I want to circle back real quickly with the Kash Patel thing and the whole CIA thing, because this guy Trump has been issuing out a series of videos. A series of videos are some of the things that he wishes to implement. And mind you, these videos are from 2022. But they've since gone viral since his election. And they're still on his website. But one of the things he's mentioned is talking about banning transgenders and all that stuff in school and putting prayer back in school. Going after big tech and going after the deep state. The Epstein list. The Epstein list right now, and the Diddy list. These are things that are held right now by the federal government. He vows that when he gets put in office, that he's going to release that list. So we're going to see people like Bill Gates. Because Melinda Gates has recently came out saying the reason they got divorced was because she found out certain particular things with Bill Gates and Epstein. This is why these people was trying to CYA, cover their ass, kiss ass, before this dude gets in. Because, and I've said this way back. I said the only thing I could think of why they would want to kill him is because he will fire a lot of people and launch a lot of investigations. In fact, under him was when we had the whole the federal investigation in Epstein. I said that. I said this before. If you've been following these shows, I've been heavy on this particular particular topic and some of the things I've mentioned through the Spirit has already come to pass. So 2025, we'll see. We will see. We'll see what the Most High does. You know, does the United States break off from NATO and put them in a particular vice grip and turn the tension up? Let's see. Let's see. These are exciting times. I think I covered as much as I could, because I know by the time I shut this video down, it's already gonna come things that I probably missed, some things I should have mentioned. But like I said, this guy's moving so fast. At the moment you're ready to do something on another topic, he's already doing the next move. And like I said, this is great for prophecy. You got a guy that's a nationalist. You got a guy that's a Zionist. And that's not gonna pretty much bend over for these other nations. He's a pure nationalist, just like the leaders for these other nations. So let's see, man. These are exciting times, brothers. Lord willing, the Most High continue to rev things up. I'm gonna give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashim Rakak Wadash. That belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutations to the hopefully elect out there. You Akim to Zadakim that do sing the most truth and sincerity. Shalom.